Hi, thank you for joining. In this video, we will be going through the 10 Sefirot together with Rabbi Simon Jacobson from the Meaningful Life Center. And instead of me sitting here and giving introductions, let's get straight to it. Would you be able to organize or perhaps explain the map of the Sefirot? They're very often shown in 3 columns, 3 rows. But what is it all about?
Okay. So I think, again, best place to begin is with ourselves. Because when you go to the world, the higher dimensions, it's more abstract and you don't have anything to look at. So let's look at ourselves. We are created in the divine image. That's what the Bible, the Torah says. What does that mean? The divine doesn't have an image, but the divine chose to create an image. And that's essentially Atzilus. It's called sometimes Adam Elyon, the supernal man. It means the divine man. Now, that means as godliness has manifest in structure. What does that structure consist of? Generally, overall, 10, we'll call it 10 attributes, 10 features that evolves into 10 faculties. So our conscious faculties, we're not talking about superconscious now. Our conscious faculties, the way the Kabbalists put it, is made up of 10 building blocks, 2 categories, 3 cognitive, intellectual, and 7 emotional. And I'll spell them out. The 3 cognitive is the 3-step process of Chachma, Bina, Das. Sometimes the acronym is Chabad. Which Chachma being the spark of an idea, Bina fleshing it out. Interestingly, similar to Atzilus and Bria, just for the record, in the world level, on the global level. And Das is the conclusion, where they have the idea come to a conclusion. That's 3, Chachma. Then comes 7, emotions. In Hebrew, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut. Translated, loosely translated, Chesed is love and kindness. Gvura is discipline or measure, channeling. Tiferet is compassion. Netzach is ambition or determination or drive, perseverance. Hod is humility or yielding. Yesod is bonding. And Malchut is dignity. That's only one way to try. You could translate it other ways. Right. I'm just giving you one loose translation. So now you have call it a world, a dimension with 10 components, which define basically the ingredients that make up this entity. And those 10 will continue to evolve. That's when you say the 10 spheres of Atzilus. They will evolve into the 10 spheres of Bria. And they will start taking on more and more shape. Everything in existence is made up of these building blocks. Just like molecules and atoms, they're called the spiritual DNA or the spiritual building blocks are spheres. So water corresponds to Chesed, fire to Gvura. Obviously, it's a physical dimension of it, but it evolves from those energies. So anything, if you look in the Kabbalistic works, anything you mentioned, the sky, the birds, the grass, colors, you name it, well, they can identify the spherotic formula that is the building blocks of that particular entity. Our 10 faculties essentially mirror the 10 divine faculties or the 10 divine attributes, which are in turn the Sefirot. They originate, of course, from the source itself. But we're talking here in the world of structure. So essentially, you can look at the whole world and identify the so-called the spiritual parallels of everything in existence. So if you walk into a meadow, a field, so most of us will say, oh, beautiful green grass, the sky is blue, nice trees, a few birds. A scientist will give you a whole scientific take on it. And a Kabbalist will tell you this is Chesed working with Gvura, and here's Tiferet, little Netzach. And they see the so-called spiritual map of the reality we look at. I mean, just to use a practical example, when it rains, it's raining. So rain job, most of us, it's raining. I put on a raincoat, take an umbrella, whatever it may be. You listen to a weather report, the meteorologist will tell you, oh, the rain, because of pressure systems, the clouds are built up. Where do the clouds get their water from? From the oceans, low pressures, high pressures, all ultimately created moisture. The clouds opened up and you have rain. The Kabbalist will tell you rain is a spiritual energy. Maybe it's the angels crying for all you know. It's a spiritual form of energy. Just like teardrops, that come out of your eyes, no one's going to say first you cry and then you're sad. No, first you're sad and then you cry, or tears of joy. So what do you see? That tears are a physical manifestation of an emotion called sadness or joy. Just like when a person smiles, their face goes into a certain shape, contortion, which is just an expression of their happiness. Now, why we're not getting into that why, but bottom line is the physical world then becomes simply a outer expression of deeper spiritual forces at work. That's, in essence, what the spheres are about.
Right. Why? Maybe we can get into the structure of, they look like they're in three lines.
Oh, right. Yes, you mentioned that. Yes. So let's go back to the human being.
Right.
A human being is three lines. You have a right, a left, and a center. You have a right brain, a left brain, a center brain. You have a right arm, left arm, and a chest. So you have the heart in the middle, and then you have the right and left, the legs, right, left, center. Every structure to stand needs to have at least three pillars.
Right.
So you have right, left, and the center is like the center. The spine is a good example of spine. So in general, the spheres, therefore, can be structured, as the Kabbalists put it, either one beneath the other, like Chachma, Bina, Das, like 10, or into three branches, with Chachma being on the right brain, Bina the left brain, Das in the center. Chesed in the right arm. This we say in the prayer every Friday. There's a prayer, Paschaliyah, from the Zohar, Kone Zohar.
Right.
Gvura is on the left, Tiferet in the center, and Netzach on the right, Hayid on the left, Yesod in the center, and Malchus also in the center.
Would you say there's a connection between the three Sefirot on the right?
Absolutely.
Three Sefirot on the left?
Yeah. Basically, the right usually leans more toward leniency, chesed, kindness. The left is a little more, we'd call it more severe, as in discipline. So yes, the spheres on the right are more right, and the spheres on the left are a little more disciplinarian, if you wish. And the center is the balance, the harmony. It creates balance between the two.
Here's what confuses me. The chesed, we know, is kindness and being open, but then like right beneath it, the netzach, it's ambition, being powerful and strong. How can we see these two being somehow resemblant of a similar side?
So chesed has many meanings. It doesn't just mean open, it also means flow. The gvura is more like, if chesed is the gas, gvura is the brakes. So chesed is the flow of love and kindness. It flows like water. Gvura creates the channels that channel it. So in that sense, netzach is a very free-flowing force. It's called ambition, drive,
force,
strength, right? And hod, like gvura, is the balancing. It's like the humility, the flexibility. A lot of people are very driven and determined. They can just roll over everybody. They step on everyone. They need to be balanced, just like chesed. You need chesed to be tempered. So in that sense, netzach would be more of a forward thrust. Think of it that way. And that's its parallel. It's not so much that netzach is not chesed. Netzach is its own attribute. But it has that similarity. They're both like water that rushes and flows. Whereas fire is the opposite, right? Withholds.
When we started speaking about the Sefirot, you mentioned that we're going to be dealing with the...
And just for the record, there's chesed within netzach.
Right.
So and there's netzach within chesed.
Right. Yeah. So we were speaking about the conscious Sefirot. You mentioned something about the superconscious.
Right. So just like in the human being, there's conscious. It begins with a spark of chachma, spark of an idea. But if you ask the question, where did the spark come from? Suddenly out of nowhere, you have an idea, right? So some people say it comes from the shower head, because all my ideas come in the shower. But we know it's not coming from the shower. So where do ideas come from? And we all wonder, wow, I had that idea. Where, it came from somewhere, but you can't quite identify it. That's like a glimpse into the superconscious. So you can't see the superconscious, but you know it's there. It's like you see a flash of lights. It had to come from somewhere.
Right.
So the Kabbalists map out the superconscious as well. Generally speaking, in the spheritic structure would be called a sphere called Kesser. Kesser literally means crown, signifying a crown above the head.
Right.
So consciousness begins with your mind. Keser is a step beyond the mind. So we'll call it superconscious. I like the word supra as opposed to unconscious or subconscious.
Right.
Because sub is like a subterranean, like a basement. It's above.
Right.
Consciousness comes from superconsciousness. So Keser. Keser itself, the Kabbalists break into two. It's called Arich and Atik. Arich being more the superconscious, closer to the conscious. And Atik is much more removed. It's like the superconscious, if you wish. And then both of them obviously have many levels within them as well. They also have 10 spheres. But there, the spheres are superconscious. In other words, we can't identify them. You can only say it originates from there.
Right.
And then there's different levels. I mean, I'll give you an example that the Hasidic teachers give for this. Difference between, let's say, a hot coal and a flintstone. Okay. So, of course, a hot coal, when it's blazing, you see the flames come from it. That's an example for the revealed spheres. But then there's the thing called the superconscious spheres. So that's a hot coal, a white coal. You look at it, you don't see anything. Until, unfortunately, if you touch it, you can get seriously burned.
Right.
You put it in water, it will extinguish it. So it's in a hidden state. We'll call it a superconscious state. And when you fan it, then the flames come from it. So that's like the superconscious. But what about the superconscious? It's more like a flintstone. There, you can put it in water, you can touch it. Yet, when you strike it, a spark comes out. So you see the spark is originating there, but it's not like directly. So it's called a superconscious state that you don't have direct access to, but when you strike, you could reach it. That comes through effort or through exertion, just to give some examples. This, of course, requires a lot more discussion.
This requires a lot of study and discussion, definitely.
That's why programs like this can only do that much. The point here is to intrigue people to want to study it.
Exactly.
And yes, there are tens, if not hundreds of pages just discussing what I just said. Now, what does that mean? And how do you access it?
Right.
And there are methods.
So to learn more, make sure to like and subscribe. And you can also check out the first 2 parts of this interview, besides for all the other videos on this channel, which try to explain Kabbalah from a very basic level with animations and designs. Also, make sure to stay tuned for the next and final part of this interview. And as always, thank you for watching.